Hey there, I want to talk a little bit about discussion boards and some things that I do within them and some things that I learned last week. So, here's a discussion board in response to a classification and division essay the kids read. Um, and I basically have just taken what I normally use in the classroom, which is literally an essay from a textbook called 50 Essays. And then I've taken the questions that follow the essay and I've built them down here into threads that then the students reply to. And so it creates this Socratic discussion that unfolds. Um, Here to sort of help spread the wealth, I guess you could say, and get as many kids to answer as many questions as possible. I will require certain questions that they answer. And then I will require the rest of the questions be the questions they respond to. And give very similar instructions that I give during a Socratic discussion. They've been quite well trained in how to ask follow up questions, challenge one another, use evidence, um, and encourage analysis and depth, and then start to think about this larger, big idea that the author might be trying to consider. So these are quite successful activities, and they can be done quite simply. If I was to look at my exemplification ones from last week, um, these were very short readings. That's why I did two essays, which I learned now I should have just done one because they were like 2 pages apiece, and so I thought they could handle it. But here again, I didn't have as many questions because this was such a short piece. So I had 4 questions. I require the students to participate using that alphabetical order. And I also require them to talk to one another. And again, I can't say enough about um, making sure you break up your discussion posts by periods because otherwise it just becomes kind of a hot mess to engage in. Here's one on the other one. This one I think had 3 questions that they responded to, and then here are their responses. Now, the one that I did last week that I felt was a little overwhelming was this post. I have edited it a good amount since I started because I had so many questions, so much confusion. And the confusion happened here. My goal was to try and stop empty comments like I agree or great job. Um, I notice as my daughter is doing online learning, when her teachers post discussion posts, if they don't say to participate in the discussion, if they don't give very clear instructions about what to do, she literally does not participate in the discussion. She just posts and she moves on. And I think the beauty of these discussion posts is they can stop and interact and practice all of this kind of critical thinking. And so I was trying to control that a little bit too much, I think. And I did a little research to find ways that other people structure online discussions. But that was where the problem kind of happened. And so I just sort of compiled questions and concerns and my answers to try and help them. But if there was one thing I would really rethink, it would be this. The reason that I had them um, do an independent discussion is because we've been doing these independent novels. The kids, it's all part of personalizing the kids' experience. We talked about what they would like to read. We talked about how they would like to read and how they would like to discuss. But right as we were getting really in deep with that process was when the school closed. So this was me just doing the best I could first week. Now, I've got a good amount of feedback from the students about this, and there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about how to fix the process. Really, the biggest feedback comes from this part where I almost tried to control how they respond, and many of the students said over and over again, if you could just let us respond naturally, it wouldn't feel as overwhelming.